All right, what's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Nutritional Wellness Guy podcast, episode 18.
I don't
Yes,
know.
we just said it. Yes,
I know
episode
I wasn't paying
18.
attention.
Cholesterol health with you guys. You know, she's no stranger, Dr. Nancy Silva, our regular time guest here. And this is a great topic because this is, believe it or not, this topic came from you all sending messages and commenting and even some DMs asking for the two main things that kept showing up, Nancy, was blood sugar health and cholesterol health. So I'm guessing that these are things that people are commonly dealing with, maybe here in the States, and makes sense because of the way diet has been, the way animals have been raised now, the environment, stress, lack of movement. It just makes sense. It sounds like those two things, next to heart hypertension issues, are on the rise. Can you break down? We're going to get right into it. Can you break down cholesterol health, HDL, LDL, triglycerides?
Okay. So when you get your cholesterol tested, right, a lipid panel, what comes back would be numbers for the total cholesterol, which is actually just a total number of all the components. And then the components would be the HDL, the LDL, and the triglycerides.
Okay.
And so LDL is the one that people consider bad, right? The lousy one, LDL, right?
Okay.
HDL is the healthy one, right?
Mhm.
And then triglycerides uh, is one that I put a lot of importance on because there seems to be not enough importance out there, enough talk about the triglyceride component. So each one, as far as what they do, or how they increase. Uh, LDL increased by dietary saturated fat, right?
Mhm.
HDL, which is our good one, increased by exercise and good fats like your omega 9s and your omega 3s. And triglycerides are increased by eating refined carbohydrates and sugar and alcohol. So what's
Mm.
what's interesting about it is most people don't realize when their triglycerides are high, it actually adds to that LDL number. So they're
Okay.
converted in the liver to the more dangerous form of LDL called the small dense LDL. And so when you see that LDL number, it's actually a total of the LDL particles. It doesn't break down for you the large buoyant and the small dense. And the small dense are considered to be more atherogenic, right? So they get into
Mm.
the coronary arteries more easily. They're oxidized more easily, so they can stick on there. And yeah, and
Wow.
triglycerides add to that piece. Did that all, was that clear?
Yeah, I mean, it was not clear. It was also that's an eye opener because
Nice.
again, we focus on HDL, LDL.
Right.
Triglycerides are in the conversation a little bit, but not much because it almost seems like there's no direct correlation to diet or exercise with triglycerides. It's like, hey, get your systolic number up, or get your systolic number a certain place and get your diet. What is it? Diastolic.
Diastolic, yeah, your blood
Yeah,
pressure, right? So the top number and the bottom number is systolic and
yeah, for
diastolic,
your
right?
blood pressure.
Hmm.
You hear that, but then they don't speak about the cholesterol side. So you said something about exercise. You said something about food, but then you also said something about alcohol. What role does alcohol play with cholesterol? Because I'm thinking alcohol, liver, sclerosis. Like it seems like it's all coming together. What is the connection with cholesterol and alcohol?
It raises the triglycerides. It is a
Mm.
carbohydrate. So it's one of those
Oh,
pieces you need to think about. If your triglyceride level is high, and ideally you want it to be less than 100, and a lot of labs will actually cut that off as 150, but really you ideally want it under 100. So if your triglycerides are high, when you get your cholesterol panel, your lipid panel back, you want to look at your diet and not only look at the refined carbohydrate intake and your sugar intake, but also your alcohol. Yeah.
Is this a thing that, all right, so we know when it comes to blood sugar health, type 1 is hereditary genetics. Is there something also, are people sometimes predisposed to cholesterol issues based on their family history? And are they doomed by that? Or how does that work? Because sometimes that's a scary thing. Hey, my whole family's been big. Everybody has cholesterol issues, not mine particularly, but people have this narrative in their head, and it's like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so some, percentage of people do have genetic hypercholesterolemia, so it runs in their
Mm,
family, and it is a thing, something that you do need to treat,
mm,
so certainly
okay.
diet and lifestyle help, but that may be one where you really do need to look to the statins. I mean, go with diet and lifestyle first, but you may have
Mm,
to go with meds. But, I've also seen a trend where people will say to me, you know, uh, yeah, type 2 diabetes, everybody in my family has it, it's genetic. And the reality is, there may be some genetic predisposition sometimes, but yet your diet and lifestyle actually pull the trigger, they say, genetics
yes.
loads the gun and diet and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So you
Wow.
really have to look at the bigger picture. You can't just say, oh, yeah, it may be that actually your whole family has had poor dietary habits, right? And it's
Mhm.
actually just something that is not necessarily genetic, but more of family habits. So one has to step back, look at the whole picture, look at their diet, and
Mhm.
see what they can do. Yeah.
Wow. So there sounds like there is some control. There's a control element. There is influence that people have when it comes to the cholesterol, and we spoke a little bit about it before. And I heard you mention omega 3s and omega 9s. What are some people's powerhouses that they can rely on? So say, like our platform, as you know, we're prevention and maintenance. So we're not here to diagnose. We're not here to cure. We're not here to treat whatever's going on in a person's cholesterol health journey. However, we provide the strategies and tools for prevention and maintenance. So before it gets to that point, there are things, some people with cholesterol, there's no symptoms. There's not like oh, that's a cholesterol symptom like you have with a cold or a flu or some of the other chronic illnesses. However, there are signals that the body's sending, and we spoke about that with red flags and things to look out for. Like Xanthomas, the deposits in the skin, with the cholesterol, has nowhere else to go. What are some other things, even from a naturopathic standpoint, but what are some things, if you had to give some tips and advice that people should be doing for prevention and maintenance when it comes to keeping their HDLs up and their LDLs low and their triglycerides at bay?
Yeah. There's a lot you can do, actually. You have great power with your diet and
Mm,
lifestyle, So, as far as the LDL, we now know that it's raised by saturated fat. So, it's not dietary cholesterol. So eggs, let's say were the big no-no, right? And now they realize, no,
hmm.
that doesn't raise your HDL, or I'm sorry, LDL. But saturated fat does. So one has to be aware of their saturated fat intake. That doesn't mean never eat a steak or something, but you definitely want to keep that more on the minimal end. And then another way to keep LDL in check or even to lower it would be to eat soluble fiber. So, say, for
Yes.
example, oatmeal, very rich in a type of soluble fiber that actually binds that LDL and removes it from your body. So, that's a great way to go about it. There's actually a dose by dose relationship, how much soluble fiber you take in and how much your
Mm,
LDL will go down. So that's a great way to do it. So watch the saturated fat intake and eat soluble fiber for LDL. And then for triglycerides, as we were just talking about, really refined carbohydrates, don't even get me started on that. They drive me crazy, and it's a big part of the American diet today, right? So,
yeah.
uh, please, no more refined carbohydrates. So not only are they raising your triglyceride, which ends up raising the small dense LDL, which are the particularly dangerous type, but they also mess with your blood sugar and can create insulin
Wow.
resistance over time, right? So refined carbohydrates, sugar, sugary drinks, powerful way to lower your triglycerides is to just get rid of that stuff, or at least, severely reduce it, right? And switch to a whole foods diet. And then the HDL, again, you can raise this very easily with consistent exercise and with your good fat intake. So your omega-3s, so your wild caught fish, maybe even supplementing with fish oil, this
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Certain nuts, walnuts are rich in omega-3s, flaxseed, although those, when you get it from seeds and nuts and such, it's not as powerful as, let's say, from the fish oil or
Yeah.
fish, as far as just the way it is metabolized in the body. But it's still there and it's helpful. What else? Yeah, and the omega-9s. So olive oil,
Mm-hmm.
avocados. So, it makes for
Yes.
a nice diet, actually. You can add in those yummy, good fats, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we all have it's like a texture thing and a taste. We want that fatty
Yes.
substance and it's good for us. Just have to lean on the gooder ones, the better ones.
Yeah. I like that. That actually sounds
Yeah.
like a t-shirt. Gooder.
Yeah, the
Gooder and
gooder
better.
ones. I like it. It's my motto. Lean on the gooder ones. So stay away from the badder ones.
Yeah, the
So
batter.
yeah.
We're gonna
So
have to
yeah.
copyright that. I like that. We're gonna trademark that.
Yeah, there you go. You can have
Gooder
it.
and batter. Okay, so those are some good tips, and what stood out for me with this whole, I mean, we're just getting into it, and you're already dropping some gems. From what I heard, HDL is in the bloodstream. It's there to take whatever's excess, get it back to the liver, and for processing and excretion. If it's, hey, we don't need it, let's just get rid of it.
Mhm.
And it sounds like the body provides cholesterol in itself, because most times cholesterol seems like a bad word. It's a taboo word, cholesterol, cholesterol, cholesterol. And some of these companies, these marketing companies, have done a very good job at manipulating and scaring people. Low cholesterol, no cholesterol, and that's, they put on the packaging, so you're like low fat, no cholesterol, and you're like, oh, this is a great product, until you turn to the back of it and you're just like, there's 22 plus ingredients on here.
Mhm.
And the ingredients aren't in parentheses. It's not like there's five main ingredients and then there's parentheses. No, these are all lab weird ingredients, but they're
Mhm.
trying to throw you off because it says low in cholesterol. So
Absolutely.
cholesterol in itself is not bad, because the body actually produces cholesterol.
Yeah.
What you pointed to is, it's bad when you're doing refined and when you're doing ultra processed foods. Okay,
Mhm.
and that makes a little more sense. Anything else
Yeah.
you about that?
Yeah, so absolutely right on. Thank you. And that kind of stuff drives me crazy, right? And you turn that ingredient label, over the box over, and also
Mm,
you'll see that oftentimes there's like a ton of sugar, right? Which is going to raise your triglycerides and it's refined carbs and all. But anyway,
mm,
yeah, it just drives me crazy. If anything, you want to try to stay away from labels. Just eat whole intact
mm,
food. And but yeah, cholesterol is something that we need. Vitamin D is made out of it, hormones, all kinds of stuff. So uh, it's an important part of our body. It's just a matter of what happens with those LDLs is that, especially the small, dense ones, they're prone to getting oxidized. So if you remember from like chemistry lab or something, like still an
mm,
electron, and now they're a reactive species in your body, right? And so when that happens, they can damage tissues. And the coronary arteries, they just have this fine layer inside of them, the
mm,
endothelial layer, and it's very easily damaged. So when you have oxidized LDLs running around, they'll stick to that, and plaque formation begins, right? Immune cells come and this whole thing happens. But so it's not only a matter of level of LDL, but avoid oxidizing them as well. So avoiding smoking, you know, uh,
Mm.
right, and taking in a lot of free radicals, fried foods and this
I
kind
was
of
just gonna
stuff,
say that.
right? Yeah, and making
Yes.
sure you're getting your antioxidants that squelch free radicals and this kind of thing, right? So there's a whole, of course, like everything, it's all tied together, right? The whole
Yeah.
big picture.
Can you, you did such a great job. And for some of you who are just following, I mean, maybe you're new to the community. Dr. Nancy Silva, Nancy was been my professor for school. So for my nutrition science degree, she was my professor for three of my courses.
Woo!
And do you mind you shared, and you broke it down because I'm always we was other courses we hear free radicals, we hear free radicals here, and we hear oxidative stress, and didn't understand it. But you painted the picture on what a free radical is and what it does to the other healthier cells. Do you mind sharing why people should really be taken serious? Why they should really be taking it serious when it comes to their health and their cholesterol, because what free radicals actually do to the body?
Well, yeah, free radicals can wreak havoc in more areas than just the coronary arteries, the LDLs and all that.
Yes.
And in fact, atherosclerosis is initially it begins with that injury to the wall, right? And then the plaque
Mm.
formation happens. So, but yeah, it can oxidative stress involved in brain inflammation, messing up our mitochondria, um,
Mm.
which are energies powerhouses of the cell, right? Just causing damage to other tissues, DNA, cancer, there's just a whole host of things. So you want to make sure that you are not introducing them into your body. I mean, they're naturally created, actually, as a lot of, just a process of cellular
Mm.
processes. But you can also intake a lot of free radicals with your diet, fried foods and things, or, pollution,
Yes.
smoking, right? So I'm sure there's other things I'm not thinking of right now, certain chemicals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, you want to be careful about what you're taking in your diet and also breathing.
Hmm.
I mean, I've got my HEPA filter right next to me here, actually, just so
Yes,
happens.
mine
Okay.
too. Yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So, thinking about that sort of thing. And then, making sure your antioxidant status is up, right?
Mm.
So you are eating your plant foods that are rich in antioxidants, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah. And then, there's other things too. I mean, there's always other pieces. So if you are on medications, let's say, a lot of times, a lot of medications deplete certain vitamins, minerals,
Yes.
nutrients, accessory nutrients, and that could include some antioxidants. So looking at your medication, um,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you can look up, there's actually a site called mytavin.com, M-A, mytavin.com. And it's a free
Okay.
site where you can look up your medications to see which nutrients are depleted.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's actually pretty easy to find out and then, either add foods that are rich in those nutrients or maybe
Hmm.
consider supplementation, just depends on your situation, right? So yeah, there's a lot
Great
to think about.
advice. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about when it
Wow.
comes to things like that. A lot of people are get me going on this stuff, but a lot of people are on PPIs and stuff, right? So, PPIs, the proton pump inhibitors, the
Yep.
things that
Mhm.
decrease stomach acid, they're
Yeah.
readily available over the counter now.
Omeprazole is the main one that I can think of right
There
off
you
the bat.
go. There you
Omeprazole or
go.
antacids. Yeah, for
There
sure.
you go. So for one thing, they will deplete B12,
Mm.
long-term use, which is dangerous for a lot of different reasons. Magnesium, if you find you're getting crampy, it may be because
Yeah.
you're losing magnesium from the PPI use. The B12 is going to show up much later. It could potentially show up as a neuropathy, something like that, or even
Wow.
actually affect your brain. But also, they deplete glutathione production. So glutathione is your major antioxidant in your body.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot to think about, as far
Wow.
as diet and lifestyle and environment,
Yeah.
right? And also your medications, really looking at them, uh, in detail as to what they are doing. Do
Wow.
you need them? Is there some other way to go around it? And if not, making sure to take care of those pieces that it might be depleting, or they might
True.
be depleting. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, and I've dealt with this, especially being in the hospital, working in the hospital, when people are on medications, they believe that the medication is now doing all the hard work. And it kind of abdicates them from doing some of the things that we're still talking about. Because
Mm.
the medication will take care of it. I'm eating fried foods, I'm eating refined processed, but that's why I'm on medication, because the medication is there to supplement, the poor choices that I'm making. And it's not the case, because unless you're autoimmune, and even then, because in the naturopathic world and holistic world, you can cure what you can cure. If you know. But let's just say typical American diet, typical traditional um, treatment. You're on a medication, and hey, this is what you have to do for the next whatever amount of time. Even when you're on that, a statin or whatever the case may be, I believe there's still things that you can do to help either get off of it or reduce the symptoms that come with it. Because just because you're on a medication, there's a give and take. So you're dealing with other symptoms and other issues because you're on that medication. Can you speak to what some benefits of fitness and movement actually has also for cholesterol health? Because I know we spoke about the diet and lifestyle, but I don't think people understand that by working out, yoga, meditation, because you're also, cortisol and some other factors. Do you mind kind of tying all in about the importance of movement and just keeping the body going?
Okay. Can I go back a second and to comment on your comments about medication?
Yes, please.
Because I'm
Comment on
just
the
dying
comment,
to. Okay. So
please.
I think it's a great point that you made about medications. And I think that unfortunately, the way the medical system is set up right now, right,
Mhm.
that people, that's their belief because that's what their doctor is prescribing and not really talking much, if at all, about diet and lifestyle. And it's just not, it's just the way the system is right now, just because pharmaceutical industry took over, not that it's your MD's fault. It's the way they were trained. So one has to really just become aware of all that and seek out,
Wow. Good point.
what is my looking at the whole big picture and what can I do? And, yeah, and maybe even working with someone else alongside your MD to try to help you with that diet and lifestyle piece. But anyway, all right.
Yes.
So back to
Thank you
exercise,
for
was
that.
it? And yeah, yeah, no, I
Yes.
love that you brought that up. These are my pet peeves, the food industry and the medical system not really
Yes.
addressing root
Big
cause.
lobbyist. Yeah, big
Yeah.
lobbyist. Yes.
Yeah. We need, root cause medicine,
Hmm.
getting down to root. And that
Yep.
often has to, of course, has to do with diet and lifestyle. But anyway, so yeah, as far as exercise, well, you said it right there. So exercise, one, raises your HDL, which is the good one
Hmm.
that takes bad cholesterol out of your system. And it can do that. It can increase it quite a bit. Okay. I mean, just, yeah. So it's very powerful in that way. And also, as you mentioned, cortisol. So cortisol can raise your cholesterol indirectly. So it does it
Mm.
indirectly by cortisol. When you have chronically elevated cortisol, which a lot of people do, actually, it's an important piece actually to talk about for cholesterol.
Yeah.
So a lot of us running around with elevated cortisol because we have uh, chronic stress, right? And so it's released when we're stressed out. And if you're chronically stressed out, you chronically have elevated cortisol. And so then that elevates your glucose level. It's a part of the, you
Mm.
know, fight or flight response. And in the fight or flight response, you need blood sugar elevated so that you can, fight or run, right? But you're not
Hmm.
doing either of those things. You're just running around stressed out. Cortisol's up,
Yes.
blood glucose is up, and that goes to the liver, and triglycerides are made in this sort of
Wow.
roundabout way. And so that actually could be a piece of that as well, is
Wow.
stress raising your triglycerides. And then that raises a small dense, right? So there is this interesting kind of back way that
Wow.
stress actually affects. cholesterol as well. But, the good thing is
Wow.
exercise does reduce stress hormones, right? So you get a
Hmm.
twofer when you exercise, right? I mean, you get
Yes.
all the physical benefits. Well, you get more than a twofer. We talked about this on the Muscle Health podcast, but
Yep.
you get the myokine release, which is anti-inflammatory, decreases blood sugar, you know, there's a lot of effects with the myokines. And then you get the HDL up, you decrease some of your stress
It's
hormones. I
like
mean,
a double
exercise,
whammy. Yeah.
yeah,
Whew.
this is really, exercising truly is a medicine for yourself. I mean, really, you want to take a medicine, just go to the gym, at least, I don't know, 5 days a week or something, or at least work
Yeah.
out 5 days a week, right?
Yep.
Definitely. Hmm.
Wow. I
Yeah.
think, hold on one second. Is it? Okay.
Hi.
Okay, we're back. Hey, community. Listen, as y'all remember from the last episode, I went from pro to basic. I went back to pro, but I guess Zoom didn't get the memo, so they cut us off. But hey, community, I have pro again. We just have to figure out how to get it activated because yeah, good thing you so I remember where you left off, which was great because you were talking about uh almost like a triple benefit of working
Oh,
out.
more. Yeah.
We were getting
Hmm.
into and you were able to recap on some of our muscle health episode, which again is even to this day, I have people still commenting and still reaching out about that episode.
Great.
So it's community. The biggest takeaway from this conversation I got so far, and I hope you all are following along as well, is when it comes to cholesterol health, it's your body takes a lot, and then at a certain point, you put it in a really bad space. So you won't see these symptoms showing up, like in your 20s, your 30s, sometime unless you're really excessively doing it and you're really having a lot of plaque. But for the most part, for an average person who's not home all the time and has a busy lifestyle and is moving around, it's going to show up when you least expect it, and it's going to wreak havoc because what's happening now is the body is fed up. It's been overtaxed, it's been overwhelmed. Plaque are in the arteries. You are dealing with other connections because you're dealing with now gut issues. You're dealing with now adrenal issues because again we talked about the cortisol level being heightened, and Dr. Dawson said this very well. He said, think of your body preparing itself to run from a lion or a bear, but you're just sitting on your computer or
Yeah,
you're just
that's right.
scrolling on the internet. So he was like, our the cavemen back in the day, that's what it was for. They needed that
Right.
boost, that cortisol boost, and because it's either to attack or to run.
Hmm.
We have that same function in a sense, but we're on our couch. We're in the car
Yeah.
driving and our
Yeah.
body's like, what are we doing with all of this? Because then it goes to the bloodstream. And like you say, now you're starting to uh miswire. There's starting to be not miswire, misfires. There's misfires. Your signals are now starting to be confused, and you're setting yourself up for chaos. Um, Nancy, do you mind as we're finishing? It's like time just went by so freaking quick. Do
I
you
know.
mind just overall, just I call this. We're starting to call this the soapbox. Where did you go? Hold on one second. Did it? It didn't cut off. Okay. Uh, I'm starting to call this my thing zoomed back and came back on the screen. So this is like the soapbox part of the coach's corner, where I want you to just share just from the heart when it comes to cholesterol health, and to the people who are starting to see some of these signals that their cholesterol is not the way they want it to be. What are some things you can share with them? We've already shared, but this is like bringing it all together so they don't feel hopeless, and someone whose doctor is like, hey, we got to start putting you on this medication. Um, can you remind them on how intelligent the body is once you set it up for success?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I like the way you put that. Your body is you just need to set it up for success.
Hmm.
So, I always like to take it back to how the body is designed, right? I mean, you were just talking about with the cortisol, how this is like an ancient response to running from the saber-toothed tiger or getting ready to fight, right?
Yes.
So, it's the same. You got to think back to how long humans have been on the planet and how our bodies are designed to eat and
Mm,
move, right? I always like to take it back to that. So, our bodies are not designed to eat a bunch of refined foods. They're not designed to eat and drink a bunch of sugar. We're designed to eat real, whole, intact foods, right?
yes.
Whole, intact meats, and, think about this part too. The meats that we're eating today are domesticated meats, right? They're very rich
Yes.
in
Ugh.
saturated fat. If you're eating a bunch of game meat, which is like probably 4% fat compared to 40% of a domesticated, grain-fed,
Wow.
right? So it's just not the same. You got to think about everything you eat in those terms. Um, right? So plants,
Mm,
a lot of plants are guts are designed for that. Our body is designed for that. Whole intact foods, meats, fish, right? No sugar, really, right? I
yeah.
mean, where did
Hmm.
we get sugar in the natural world? I mean,
Yeah,
come
exactly.
on, right? So, think about the fact that the food industry, they're there to sell you products, and
Hmm.
they have hijacked your ability to think about your choices, right? Because the foods that they give you are designed to influence the reward system of your brain. This is
Yes.
known. They're engineered that way. So it's hard for you to switch and you want that stuff because your brain has been set up to do that, to reach for that.
Yes.
So you've got to become aware and think about it in those terms. And also in the movement sense, right? So we're not designed to be sitting around. Think about it. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, right? I
Hmm.
mean, old,
100%. Yeah.
right? Sure. How are we going to get our food and stuff, right? We're getting up every day, we're moving around, and we're getting our plants and hunting some
Hmm.
game and whatever, right? So we were moving all the time and
Yeah.
making our shelters and migrating and who knows, right? So, um, take it back to that, get into a natural state of movement and eating real food and help your body
Yes.
do its thing, right?
And do
Yeah.
you believe that sometimes this might mean a fast of some sort? Because also when you think about you said hijacking, which I mean, if you know, there's millions and billions of dollars spent on hijacking the psyche of how we view food. And everything you're saying doesn't make them money. That doesn't make a big profit. Eating whole foods and eating, responsibly raised, cattle. That doesn't make them. That doesn't help bottom line at all.
Mm,
So, and we're in a capitalistic society, and it's not like we're in a capitalistic society and they're like, oh, but don't touch the food industry, don't touch the nutrition and supplement industry. No, they know better. That's why I even believe that's why the FDA does not actually, require to scan all supplements before they're introduced to the public. That should be a no-brainer. Before something's put on the shelf, it should have been tested and verified by our government or by
mm,
people in power. But it's just not set up that way. Do
mm.
you believe that a fast can help people clear out some of those parasites and some of those other parasitic entities inside that are craving the sugar and some of the things that are happening inside? How can someone help reset to have a fighting chance to get to a healthier lifestyle and help with their cholesterol?
Um, fasting is an interesting piece. So uh, I like Dr. Fung's work on this, right?
Okay.
He's a big proponent of fasting, right? And his idea is that the fact that we eat refined carbohydrates, right,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
raises our sugar, which raises our insulin. Insulin makes you pack on fat, but also the fact that we never really let our insulin go down. So I'm bringing it to insulin now, but
Great point.
fasting is a big thing regarding that. So and insulin resistance is a big predictor of heart disease risk. But anyways, so we tend to eat all day long these refined carbohydrates. We're snacking on them. We've
All
even
day.
heard that snacking all day increases your metabolism. This is BS. Okay. So
Yes.
anyway, this is total BS and it's really screwing you. Okay. So
Hmm.
can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Anyway, okay, thanks.
Amen.
Okay. So so the thing is, because we tend to graze all day, eat all day, insulin stays up. Whereas if you fast, even just between meals, right? You eat your three
Yes.
squares, your insulin has a chance to go down before you come back to eat your lunch. Then your insulin goes down, and then you have dinner, and then your insulin goes down for a long period of time as you fast
Yes.
for the evening into the morning, right? So fasting, just in that sense, is incredibly important, not
Mm,
snacking. And then, so if let's say you have fatty liver or something like that, yeah, you could benefit a great deal from fasting, also from getting rid of the refined carbohydrates, right? This is going to help
yes.
burn that off, that fat in the liver. So intermittent fasting is a nice one. But yeah, I think fasting has its place. Uh, but I'm more a proponent of three squares. Some people don't
Gotcha.
like to
That's
eat
fair.
breakfast. Okay, three
Yeah.
squares, no snacking in between. I mean, if you absolutely have to snack, maybe a few little nuts. It's something that's not going to raise your
Yeah.
blood sugar
Some
and
soluble
therefore
fiber.
insulin.
Get some soluble
There you
fiber in your
go.
snack time because
There you
that's going to
go.
help with your cholesterol because it's going to trap those before they get into the bloodstream. It's going to trap it and then it's going to get rid of it. So if you're in the
Yeah.
snacking mood, look for high fiber, but not just any fiber, soluble fiber snacks to help support to hold you over.
I love that. It's going to be satisfying. It'll make you
Mm.
feel full. It's going to bind the cholesterol,
Yep.
right? It's not going to raise your blood sugar. And this is a great way to do it. Yeah,
There we go. I like it. Well, oh my goodness, these times go by so fast.
I know.
But I just thank you for again showing up for our community like you always do. I always learn from this, and just as when I thought
Thanks.
I knew, I said I didn't know. I
Right.
thought I knew, but I didn't know. I feel
There's
like our
always, yeah.
yeah, yeah. You on these episodes are getting gooder and gooder. So this is so this is like this is really healthy, and and community. I will say this as we end here. You can find Nancy on How to Age Better on Instagram. That's her
Mm,
handle.
mhm.
Also, she is a regular with our with our Coach's Corner. But again, just remember, as she said before, you have the power. You have a lot of influence. First, start before you go crazy. Just start with what you won't eat anymore. I know sometimes you get overwhelmed because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
First, start with boundaries on what you will stop eating, and
Hmm.
start there. Start there first. Maybe you can't go to cold turkey on the Doritos or the Nutri-Grain bars that they create and have you thinking that they're just the best thing on earth.
Mm.
Start there. Refine foods. So anything that has more than, let's say, 5 ingredients. We're going to start there, healthyish family.
There you
Anything with
go.
more than 5 ingredients, and the ingredients aren't whole ingredients, those are the things you're going to let go right now. Anything that has a shelf life of more than, and I'm being generous right now. Anything with a shelf life more than 2 months that's not canned or preserved or frozen. And frozen is a whole nother situation. Start getting rid of those items because you want to get to a place of whole foods, and you want to get to a place where you are reducing the stores because your body glycogen stores that stuff is stored up, and it, even though that's blood sugar talk, it also affects cholesterol because they're all linked for chronic illnesses.
Hmm.
So what Dr. Nancy is saying is, first and foremost, try to get away from your refined products. And if you don't know what that is, just do a Google search. What is considered refined food?
Hmm.
And you'll be surprised. The
Yeah.
second thing is when you're dealing with seafood, go with wild caught because some
Hmm.
of the seafood that is farm raised are being fed corn and soy and a lot of
Absolutely.
other issues that it's
Yes.
almost like you're staying away from the refined food, but be careful because they're
Yeah.
feeding the food you're eating refined food. So you're getting it one way or the
Yes.
other. So you want to be
Good.
careful that you're changing your diet. And I know say, oh, it gets expensive. You just have to figure out where to buy things because a lot of stores are actually working with people more now. But then you got to also say, what's the investment? Am I going to spend all this money in healthcare later? or am I going to just budget it now to eat the right thing for my family and I? So
Hmm.
staying away from refined products, getting wild caught food because it's going to be more responsibly raised. It's going to be a better fat profile in that
Yes.
food item compared to
Yes.
what's in the farm raised. Also,
Yes.
when it comes to your cattle, your poultry, and some of your other meat items, be careful. Look at the labels. Find the ones that are pasture raised, pasture
Mm.
finished. Find the
Hmm.
ones that are cage free. Look for
Hmm.
foods that are humanely raised because if you're just getting any old produce, if you're getting any old meat, what's happening is you're just, even though you're not eating the bad stuff directly, you're eating the stuff that's eating the bad stuff directly.
Yeah, it
And last
changes
but not,
the fat
yeah,
profile. Like you
there,
said.
100%. And last but not least, as a flexitarian, I'm a flexitarian. We prioritize plant-based over meat-based. Doesn't We don't give up meat, but we prioritize it because our bodies are just. I mean, you think about antioxidants and polyphenols and just all these great things that come from plant power.
Hmm.
You're helping your cholesterol really have a fighting chance. And when your cholesterol is on track, your mood, your energy, metabolism, so many other things. It shows up in your skin, it shows up in your smile, it shows up in your energy, it shows up in your mental processing because even when cholesterol issues are happening, you're going to start dealing with mood imbalances. You're going to have mood irregulations because of what's happening with the gut brain connection and cholesterol liver connection, long story short. So I say all of this to say, community, you have a fighting chance. Thanks to Dr. Nancy reminding us that a lot of this is under our control. And even if you are on medications, you still have a responsibility because guess what? You don't have to be on that medication forever. There are ways to get around it. Anything else you want to add before we tell the good people bye, Doctor?
No, no, it was nice to see you again. And
Yes, indeed.
yeah, thanks.
I think we're back for what's our next
I
rodeo?
forget.
Yeah, me
I have
too.
it tucked away on my computer
Yeah,
somewhere on
me
my
too.
schedule, but
I think yeah. Either way, it'll be coming. I think I'll see you in a couple. I think we're back in a couple of weeks. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm excited for it. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We have
yeah.
colon health. We have hair health. We have uh, so many. Trust me, we have. It's a lot. So I'm excited. I know you're a busy person. You got a lot going on. I appreciate you giving me this time. And community, remember, health is wealth. And we're just here to make sure you're getting paid. Until next time, yum on.